What's up, Moto Buddies? Mike here from Taco Moto and Baja Taco Tours 21500 Xcf-W. So we did a bike not too long ago. It was a 22501 FE for our buddy Joel, and he was the father of a father and son team who just recently completed the Grit 1 Idaho experience, and they absolutely slayed it. So dad and son, dad's a vet rider, son 18 I think, Jack, and they both attacked it, did a hell of a good job. And this is Jack's bike, so this is his son's bike. So we set this up, and Jack has done some local club racing and has been out and about doing some cool stuff on this bike. And so we got it back, and I thought I would give you a little update. This is 62 hours on it, and so we'll give you some idea of what sorts of things you can expect when your bike at 62 hours. Now, just for perspective, as far as hours go, we're seeing these engines go anywhere from, on the top end with some good maintenance, specifically really, really good air filter maintenance, and we'll get into that and how we ensure that. So if you've got a bike that's got 60 hours, it's barely broken in. I would say 300 to 400 hours is probably going to be at about 60 to 70% top end life for most riders. Now, most, there's a asterisk by that, because I'm seeing some guys get 800, 900 out of these, and that's pretty rare. But I've also seen these motors blow. I know of guys who blow these at 100 hours. So and that's just from hard extreme use, and then a little bit of lack of maintenance issue, some fueling issues. Guys who, on one of those bikes, it was a guy who he had an aftermarket ECU and was running wrong map for the conditions. Another guy who had a top end failure was running reeds out, open exhaust, stock ECU, overheated it, overtemped it. That's the incorrect fueling, running some extended high-speed stuff, and baked one of the rings and had a hard seizure in the cylinder. So the instances of catastrophic engine failure on these bikes is very, very low. And you're looking at a 60-hour bike, and that's just, again, that's barely broken in. I'm not worried about those kinds of hours at all. So where we're at with maintenance on this thing is all of the routine stuff is continually done. So oil changes, because this bike is raced and pushed hard, I would recommend 15-hour changes, 10 to 15-hour changes, air filter changes, potentially every ride. You would do well to have a little stock on hand of air filters, maybe 4 or 5, and then you clean them and rotate them out. And so whenever you need, and you just wash those, re-oil them, and have them in a baggie ready to go. So you've got, your dirties collecting and your cleans being depleted as you swap these things out, and then on your last clean, then go ahead and clean them all, and then just let the cycle continue. And then as far as, well, let's just jump into the air filter right here, since we're talking about that. So as you know, these airbox covers are a little bit tricky to get off. Sometimes you can have good luck if you get in behind here and pull that off. Getting underneath this there we go. Okay, so it wasn't that bad. Getting underneath can be a bit of a pain. But if you've got a screwdriver, sometimes I'll take a screwdriver or a key and get under here and just give that thing a little pop. Also, a pro tip on these is you might want to throw a little bit of grease on these. We do have grease on here, but you can see dirt collects on it. So every now and then, wipe that out and put a little new grease on there, and that will really help it a lot. So we've got the stock twin air filter. The twin air is what comes stock on these, and so we've got a new one on here, and then we run PC Racing filter skins. So this covers over that air filter. We oil these, and then when you're like halfway through a race or halfway through a ride, and then this gets very, very dirty, you can take and just pull this thing away from the filter. And typically what I'll do is I won't even unsnap this, and I generally don't do that out in the field, because you've run the risk of having some dirt and some debris and things falling into the airbox and then getting sucked in, or you just have to spend the time make sure you ensure cleanliness. So this is generally my standard procedure. I'll just take that filter skin, wrap it out. Now I've exposed the clean under filter, and then we'll continue the ride. And so you kind of want to do this at about the halfway mark. Some fellas will bring a new filter skin with them. They'll throw that on there, and then once the first one gets saturated, instead of doing this, they'll throw a new one on, a clean one on. And so it's not uncommon for us on rides to have a little baggie of a couple of these. And then we'll also save these. You can toss them if you like, but This one has been used previously and was clean and is now being recycled again. We're using it again. I've used these 5, 6, 7, 8 times. And so we save these and then we just clean them. We throw them in our bag of dirty filters and then we clean these, re-oil them and put them back on. So that's our air filter practice. And then as far as the filter base gasket underneath here, we run the PC Racing filter base gasket. And so we don't grease the filters. There's no grease on any of these. And this is a neoprene. It's kind of like wetsuit material. It's very rubbery. It's super, got very sticky. There's a really, you got to ensure cleanliness when you install this thing. And so there's a procedure to do that. And then because it's just got some extra thickness to this, and then with the rubber face of it with some texture, that grabs all the dirt. And so we run these on all our bikes all the time. And never, ever, ever do we have any dirt, dust, debris, or residue that accumulates here inside of the airbox. Every time we pull these off, they're absolutely clean and flawless. And so this is a Baja proven, Baja 1000 race setup. We've proven this time and time again. And so this is our standard procedure every time. So that's what's going on with our air filter setup. Now, maybe while we're in here really quick, we'll take a look at another thing we've done. This is the Tokyo off-road starting capacitor. And so the motocross bikes will do, I don't think we have done a video specifically about starting capacitors. Now you can go on Kyle Brotherson's dirt bike channel where he talks about putting one of these on a 300 on a TPI bike and why you should consider that. Also, Mark at Tokyo Off-Road has done some videos on what this is. So I won't go into anything about what the technology is or what this thing does, but I will stress that we put these on all of our bikes, all of the Enduro bikes. None of the Enduro bikes, none of the Exc-f, FES, Xcf-Ws from 12 up come with these. Motocross bikes do, Enduro bikes for whatever reason don't. And so we install these on every single bike. And the quick background on the tech of this is it allows this capacitor is like a little solid state battery. Even though it's not technically a battery, it will hold a charge. And so if your battery were to be completely flat, dead, or even removed for whatever reason, you could use this. You could secure this to the battery cables and then kick start the bike. These injected bikes, the 12-up injected bikes, will not run without a storage device that holds a small amount of charge for running the ECU and running the fuel pump. And this is absolutely essential kit. We put this in all our bikes. So go ahead and look up those other video sources. I'll put links in the bottom of this. But just showing you where we install that. With the seat off, you can see that we're running the cables here for the capacitor, starting capacitor. They just go up here and secure to the battery. Get battery. Also, I think it's worth noting up here, we don't run the stock batteries. So the stock lithium ion batteries, or ion formula batteries that come stock on these bikes, the Skyrich batteries, we have found to be completely unreliable. And I don't trust them and I don't use them. I don't run them on any of my bikes. And so we have swapped that one out for a lithium iron battery. This happens to be a Get battery. Very good. So probably our favorite mid-cost battery. So the premier battery, the one that we probably like the best and happens to be the most expensive, is the anti-gravity 8 cell. So at the top of the spectrum is the anti-gravity 8, and then this would be the more budget-friendly version, the Get battery, just less powerful, and that's really all it boils down to. They're both lithium iron, which is preferred for motorsports. This one just happens to have less capacity, so it's a little less costly. That's up with that. Maybe of note in here, the relays, we always mark down what those are for. Get ECU system, traction control, Takomoto maps, map switch. Okay, so checking out a couple other things here. It's got the IRC. This is the MB5. That's a monster tire, hill climb, just magic for hill climbing. Really good all around desert tire. You can see how huge the spacing is, and so incredibly aggressive. It's also a buzzsaw. If you're riding behind this tire and the guy gets on the throttle, prepare to have a face full of gravel. I don't know if we've done a full kind of look over on this bike, but we may as well talk about it again. Some of this might be redundant if we've already done this bike. He swapped out the wheel set. These look really good. These are machine CNC hubs. These are from Bulletproof, and so oversized stainless steel spokes. and they're sourced rims, and then they're probably making these hubs in-house themselves. And then we've got these are from Tusk. These are the spacers, and so these are essentially doing what the Yamaha's done this forever. I don't know why KTM doesn't do this stock, but this just protects the bearing seals from pressure washing. He's got a super sprocket on here. These are bi-metallic, 2 metals, so you've got aluminum here and steel for the facing. And these are very good, and they do a great job, and they last a real long time. He's got some Flow foot pegs. These are some offshore products. They do okay. They're probably not our first go-to choice, but they're budget friendly, and so that's not a bad foot peg. The dome washer, Dirt Tricks, swap that out to ensure the integrity of the oil seal here. And then the Recluse, there's the slave cylinder. Enduro engineering on the skid plate. So fabulous, really good protection. A lot of the old school guys love the aluminums. The aluminum is all you used to be able to get. Now there's UHMW. I probably got the letters wrong. That's the high performance composite plastic, which is what I'm running on my bikes. But I'm a big fan of the Enduro. If you're gonna get an aluminum skid plate, get the Enduro engineering. The only downside is, really the only viable downside is the weight penalty over composite nylon plastic plate. And then there, I guess that's the bottom line. If you're gonna run aluminum, get the Enduro. Let's see, he's got the large oversized Acerbis tank. This is probably the 15 liter. I'll put that in the comments. The suspension's been completely reworked, so we've got Racetech Gold valves in there. It's sprung and valved, all custom for him. Incredibly plush, just absolute carpet ride when you're riding across the desert. Enduro engineering. Radiator guards, we call these Radiator Guards because that's what they are. They're not brush guards. So these guards protect the side of the radiator. A brush guard, take a look at yours. If all you're protecting is the front and maybe just a tiny little bit on the side as well, that's a brush guard. If your guard has a protective band that comes down the side of the radiator and then especially under, then that is a radiator guard. They are different. There are 2 different ways you can protect your radiator, and these are true radiator guards versus just a brush guard. I think he's running stock tires, but we've got Moose in here, Michelin Moose. STR on the front rotor guard, carbon fiber with a composite nylon little shield here on the front. These are fantastic. We've been running these, rocking these, trying to destroy these, and we can't. They're our favorites. TM Design Works on the lower guards, lower lugs. You can see how this is just taking a ton of abuse. These things get really gnarly and jacked up, and because we're running the Racetech Explorer conversion, the true dual chamber conversion system, we've now got compression adjusters down here on the bottom, and so we want to protect that. That's expensive and vulnerable, and so these absolutely do that. There's a little screw hole on the bottom for access to that as well. We Moto minded on the headlight. I think that's the Epic, so that's a dual filament, or dual light rather, and so you can aim one up trail and one down trail, like lower and farther out. We really like that. This is the Tugger Strap. This is we put these on a lot of bikes. We also logo those up with the Taco Moto action. P3 Max. So this guard right here protects all the way to the edge, so front to back. You're not going to burn your boots or your pants on that. That is our absolute favorite go-to exhaust header guard. O2 sensor has been deleted. This is a off-road use, competition use only race bike, and the Get ECU is taking care of fueling for us. Recluse XP clutch. This has got the replacement hub with extra oiling. A Recluse bike runs cooler, has cooler. Let me say it like this. The oil, this is what I was trying to say. The oil in your bike will be cooler when you run a Recluse CX versus stock. And the reason is because the pressure modulation is robot accurate, right? So there's springs and shims in here, and so they're acting as if it's a robot that's modulating your power engagement off idle into the power band. And when you set this up correctly, you have no clutch slippage. You gain additional frictions. So with the torque drive technology, we'll do a recluse video where we break all this stuff down and show you what this looks like on a table. So I'm just throwing out this kind of word salad. If this is new to you, there's some great technology that's happening inside of the recluse. But the punchline here is that your engine oil stays cooler. Your engine oil is less contaminated by clutch wear byproducts, and so you can get longer oil change intervals. And the torque is, you get better torque out of your clutch pack than you do from stock. You also get better cooling across the plates because of the oil flow pattern of the replacement hub. The center basket, the clutch hub basket inside of there is cross-drilled, where the stock, it has many more oil flow-through holes than the stock hub does, basket hub. So there's just all kinds of magic happening inside of the recluse. Plus you get this, like for free, you get all the side benefits of just having a bike now that is essentially stall-proof. So we absolutely run the recluse, and all the dipsticks who say that it's dumbing down your riding ability don't understand the fact that you can continue to modulate the clutch lever just like you would on a stock clutch. And so other than cost, and these things can be expensive, upwards of $1,200-$1,300 retail, other than the expense of it, there's really no valid argument against a recluse. There's no compelling argument against it. And so that's why we run them on all our bikes. Talk about Moto, we've got the our own in-house oil filler cap, and so it's got knurled edging, so you can install and remove that without any tools. And then here's something cool we just added for him. This is the Aux hydraulic rear brake setup, and this is super clever. We need to do a specific video. Man, so many videos we need to make. All right, we probably just need to do that full time. So what's happening here is we've got this slave cylinder. So this is a intermediate master. This is not the, this is the slave rather. So we've got this intermediate slave that mounts in between the action here of the lever itself and then the master cylinder for the rear brake. And then when you press on the lever, you expand out the pin, the intermediate pin here, and then that activates the rear brake. It's genius. Chuck and the boys have done a fantastic job on this. We really like it. And because he was up in Idaho, so the reason that we've got this bike back specifically was to throw in the CX and the Aux Brake, because Joel's bike had those, and when Jack rode that, saw the dramatic improvement that made on his riding and the overall experience, and so absolutely said, I need that for my bike, and that's what we've done there. So let's take a look at this, the master cylinder and the lever up here. So with the Aux Brake, you've got, this is mountain bike hardware, high-end Magura mountain bike hardware. And so there's your master, and you just compress that, and it's hydraulic down here through the cable to that slave cylinder down there. Really genius setup. Nothing really to speak of over here on this side. Maybe this, I don't know what brand this shark fin is, kind of a no brand overseas looking thing. And you can see the crazy gouges that this thing has incurred, and that's just from the extreme gnarly riding. And also you'll see some of these big, huge rock impacts. So why we always run and always recommend a rear disc guard is there's two reasons. One is you will prevent disc damage from a hard hit, like from a rock here. The other thing is as your front tire is basically creating rock shrapnel, all of that rock shrapnel is just flying and continually pummeling the rear end here and then the rear disc, and it will erode over and then just sort of like create all kinds of disruptive metal fragments here on the facing of it, which will accelerate the wear out of your brake pads. So you'll extend rear brake pad life if you protect your disc. So you say, well, I'm not a basher. That's cool, but you do have the benefit of having the protection of the disc from bashing. But what the other unintended side effect is that you knock away that rock shrapnel that otherwise would have hit it. And so TM Design Works makes a really cool one, and it has a little front-facing guard that's it just 90s over and then goes maybe an inch or so, and it protects the face completely. So this does have the vulnerability of a few rocks, depending on where they are angled, it may get past this and hit it. But we recommend either, and they're all good. Anything, here's the bottom line, anything you can do to protect your disc, you want to do that. And that's all I'll say about that. So as far as the exhaust, he's got the stock can. The resonator is left intact, and then he's got the Pro Motability end cap. So fantastic combination of power, smoothness. When you're in controlled forest situations where you need to maintain as quiet of a bike as possible, ProMoto also has an insert that goes here, and it shoots the exhaust. We've talked about that before, but it takes the exhaust. The sound sends it down at the dirt, and then there are some baffles inside of here which will knock down the sound. And because he's running this primarily as a race bike, he doesn't have that in. Also, I think I'll show up front here, we've got the Dingo. These are the very, very strong side, or just the upper tube guards here. And then Xcf, these are the mud scrapers. We were in Utah a couple of weeks ago running in some extreme mud and had these on a bike, and they did an absolute fantastic job. We run these year round. There are those who will say, and this is valid, there are those who will say you should install these when it's muddy and then take them off when it's not, because this contact does imbue a little stiction into the suspension, and that is accurate and correct. I will say this, I am not going to stop my bike. I'm not going to pack these in a pack, and then when I see that I'm in muddy conditions, stop, put these on, ride the muddy conditions, and then stop, or at maintenance, then take these back off, putting these on and off. That's ridiculous, and I don't do that. We put these on and we leave these on forever. And we'll replace these when we do major internal overhauls, because this thing is designed to be a wear item. They don't last forever. All of that contact and movement across the lower tubes does sort of wear them out, or just erode away some of the material, some of the seal here. Think of these as like windshield wiper blades. And there is some Teflon and some other slidable material that's been impregnated into this. So they do a great job, but again, that's my policy. Now, if you want maximum shock performance and don't want to influence that small bit of stiction, you might be the guy who's putting these on and off as you think is necessary, but I just told you what I do and don't do. OD Rogue grips, favorite grips. We've got these are little grip traction levers from Enduro Engineering. These things are very cool. We put these on grips. These are the bulletproof levers, like these, very adjustable. They're a little bit smaller, and they're a little bit, what I love about these, probably more than some of the other ones, is I just like that they are 3 fingers. I don't typically ride with 3 fingers, but there have been times where I'll get 3 fingers onto the brake, and they're 3 fingers wide, but really we pretty much ride 1 finger on the brake. And I just like that they are flat and a little bit taller on the front. For whatever reason, that I like that. That's a personal preference of mine. They also do that when you take a digger. So we like those. Sick ass, this is the over-under switch, just to free up some bar space, because we threw on, like I said before, we threw on the left-hand brake, and so now we've just got real estate issues with the bars. So with the get and that, we got rid of the kill switch over here on the other side, and so to conserve space, we threw on this. BRP, vibration undermount with the blue bushing, so that's the softer one. Because this is a hard enduro bike, you want all the dampening you can get, all the cushioning. Scott stabilizer, love those, can't say enough about that. And then, so the BRP set up together. This is the Reflex Racing handguard system, drilled in, tapped, bolted in. And then this is called the recurve setup, and so top clamp is the bar bracket, the bar mount for that. There is a steel braided cable, which you can't see under these little collars, but this section right here is a steel braided cable. So any bar flex that you get out of the bars is not scrubbed away by a rigid hard mounting between your bar clamps and then your bar protectors, your brush guards up here. Moto minded, it's got this little cool headlight extender, because on these Xcf-Ws the headlight button is super far down, you can't really reach it that well. They make this cool little extender bar right there. That's on there. Back to the suspension, because we've now converted these WPs over to the true open chamber, dual chamber design, dual function design. The rebound is now up on top. The compression is down on the bottom. So both of these are now rebound. Both bottoms are compression. STR is the air bleeders right there. We've got the little vented air cap right here. Fuel hose, free flow hose. Like these a lot. Again, we talked about the gas tank. All of the emissions components have been removed, capped, blocked, and deleted because this is a race bike, and that's all Moto in-house branded stuff for that. As I do a final look over this thing, is there anything else? I think that's a pretty good walkthrough on this bike. Very, very good enduro race, dual sport setup machine. This is, again, we say this all the time. It's our opinion and it's our strong position. Oh, almost forgot these little guys. These are I like these. These are the Canyon Dancer tie downs. Now, why this is important is if you are running any kind of bar system, so you've got carbon fiber bars, flex, Mako 360, anything at all, even with these dampers right here, it is not a good idea to throw straps. You know, a lot of times you'll see a guy, he'll take a tie down hook strap and then throw it across the bar and then strap it down. Well, you're putting load against all of your little dampening components. So highly recommended to not do that. So what are some ways you could strap your bike down? If you have any type of dampening system up here on top, you could throw your tie loops across the triple clamps down here on the bottom. So you could just essentially like take your strap, your rope, whatever, and loop it through. And so now you're putting all that load on the triple clamp and then tying down into the bed of your truck or whatever. Or what we like, and this is just much cleaner, you just put on these and then you just hook into here and then tie it down. So that's what I was saying. It's our position that the EXC platform is the ultimate, most usable of all the platforms. And then I just think personally that the 500 is crazy usable, crazy adaptable. This bike can be configured into so many different specialty uses. It's just incredible what we can do with these bikes and then how much usability we can get out of them. So if you have any questions, leave those in the comments. If you'd like to have your bike set up like this, or you want parts to set up like this, or you have questions about this or your own setup, let us know. We're happy to help and talk to you. Shoot us an email or a text is probably best for the quickest response. And like, subscribe, blah, blah, blah. And as always, go out and get some adventure.